Welcome, everyone, to the Thought Leadership Series, Women in Cannabis Edition. Thank you to the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce for bringing us all here today to not only discuss the challenges, but ways to overcome these challenges and the amazing opportunities out there for women. My name is Adelia Carrillo. I am the CMO and co-founder of Event High, an online ticketing platform catering to the cannabis culture, specifically for cannabis-related events. I'm also the co-founder of Blunt Brunch, a women empowerment event series, and your host for today. Now, according to MJ Biz Daily's 2021 Women and Minorities in the Cannabis Industry report, executive female representation is down to 22%, a stark contrast from 2019, which was 36% and well below the average for US mainstream businesses, which is 30%. Now, majority of you have heard these numbers, so these aren't surprising, very disheartening, but not surprising. And today, though, we're going to have a spin on this conversation. We have a powerhouse lineup of women leaders, each in different sectors in this industry, and we're going to dive into a variety of topics from challenges women face and how to overcome them, the opportunity for women, and is there a shifting change for women in cannabis, and much more, with the intention to empower more women in cannabis and leave our male colleagues with more insight and intention. So with that being said, I would like to have you all meet our panelists, and I'm going to have each of them go one by one. They're going to introduce themselves, and we're going to kick it off with Liesl Bernard of the Cannabis team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liesl Bernard. I'm the CEO of Cannabis team. We're an executive search and staffing firm focused exclusively on the cannabis industry. And we place talent both on a temporary, direct hire and executive search basis in all verticals. I established the company in 2016. And we now have close to 30 recruiters across the US that recruit for our clients in the industry. And we recently also started doing some international placements, which is really exciting.
Well, thank you, Liesl. It's always good to have a conversation with you. I know the insight you're going to bring is going to be great. Next up, Amber Center of the Maker House and Supernova Women.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you again, Chamber of Commerce, for the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce for holding space for us and creating this opportunity for us to be able to speak with you all. My name is Amber Center. I'm the CEO of Maker House. I'm also executive director and co-founder of Supernova Women. Maker House is a house of brands, cannabis brands, of course. And Supernova Women is a nonprofit 501c3 founded in 2015. And we work to create opportunities for Black and Brown folks in cannabis. So super excited about this conversation and to talk with my fellow panelists today.
And Amber, one thing, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. You definitely have a background in a variety of different businesses in cannabis. So it's going to be some great insight you're going to be providing today. We appreciate it. Next up is Keiko of Coral Cove Wellness Resort.
Hello, welcome, and aloha to that person in Hawaii. Thank you so much. My name is Keiko Beatty. Thank you so much to the Chamber of Commerce and all these lovely, powerful women that I've been honored to be chosen on the panel with. My background is Ayurvedic Chinese Holistic, and I am the founder and director of Coral Cove Wellness Resort that's located in Jamaica. We are an education resort, and we have our own licensed dispensary, and we also facilitate sessions with fungi medicine as well. And my purpose and honor for being here is to welcome everybody who wants to be part of this space. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Keiko. It's always a pleasure to have you on here. And last but not least, we have Ellen of Acreage Holdings. Welcome, Ellen.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. I joined Acreage about almost a year ago now, and I lead market development in our shared services. And Acreage is just a great company in the cannabis space, vertically integrated, incredible commitment to quality and to our brands, which include The Botanist and Superflux, and hopefully at least most of you have seen those. And it's a very dynamic organization, very much a culture of caring about our employees and encouraging diversity. And it is a pleasure to be here with all of you today.
Welcome again. And as you all can see, I was very truthful. We have a powerful team of women here joining us today, and we are going to dive into some amazing questions. We're going to kick it off with Amber. So Amber, you have had different roles in this space, as I mentioned earlier. So you have a variety of different experiences, from building a nonprofit, a cannabis medicinal brand, a dispensary, and if I'm correct too, Maker is also a licensed delivery?
Yeah, so we used to be. I
Okay.
used to run a licensed delivery, but now just run a house of brands.
So House of Brands. Okay. So with that, what are some challenges you have had to overcome that you think other women should be aware of as they come into this space, and what tools or methods helped you overcome them?
That's a pretty loaded question, but I'll try to tackle it as best as I can. So, I've had many different type of partnerships throughout my cannabis career. I moved to California in 2014 and started working in cannabis, and worked for some folks, and then eventually started my own business. And number of challenges, but really one of the, I guess, best tools that I've had to kind of deal with some of the misogyny and things like that happen in cannabis have been creating community of amongst really of women that have been like a support network. So Supernova, we co-founded that organization back in 2015, and it's been a great place to kind of discuss, some of the challenges that we face and deal with. It's been really great to have something like almost like a think tank or a mastermind group. We even ran a mastermind group for a year, and about ways in which to overcome them. I sit here and bash my male counterparts, but it's certainly cannabis is a very male-dominated space, and a lot of men just really get intimidated by powerful women, and don't like taking direction from women, or just don't even answering to women, or having to really take our serious. That was something earlier in my career. I mean, I still deal with it now, but now that
we're semi, sorry, Amber, you're semi cutting out a little bit. So I just want to let you know, I don't know if the internet, but yeah, try to keep going.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. I'm going to try and switch here in just a second to another network that might be a bit better. But it's I think the most important tool that we have is being able to check in with each other, empower each other, and really kind of discuss some of the challenges in which we face with each other, feeling, knowing that you're not alone in dealing with these things, and being able to talk amongst each other is a very powerful thing. And that's truly been really the thing that's been able to keep me going for so long.
That you bring that to light, and it's been so impactful. I feel the same. I can vouch for that. I mean, you're obviously, you work really closely with Whitney Beatty. She's one of the women that I do call for those moments, and I need that, and I think we all do. We have certain groups or other people that we can go to during those kind of tough times or conversations or even celebrations. So Supernova has been very impactful, and I think that's a great example. Let's go over to Ellen. So Acreage Holding, as we all know, is an MSO that has incorporated a seed to sale model. What is one challenge you have continued to face within this business, and how have you overcome it?
On a personal basis, it's been a fantastic learning curve for me coming into the cannabis industry just a few years ago after spending most of my career in classic CPG, which I think is a tremendous background as our industry matures, as we need to really adopt best practices for success. I think that background is extremely important. And I certainly encourage those who haven't worked in cannabis before, they don't know what they're missing. So that's always exciting. On the business side, we face the same types of challenges, economic headwinds, things like that. I think operating in an environment where we don't have federal legalization, hoping for the Safe Banking Act, and wanting to do things with the highest quality and compliance state by state as more states are coming into adult use, always has challenges because you can't have a one-size-fits-all solution. You have to be extremely nimble and flexible the way Acreage is to say, here's how we're going to adapt our business model and what we bring to market and do it in a way that will work state by state. And the biggest issue is having the right talent and the right people. And we've got a great team to do that. So I think that's what it starts with. You need really great people.
So true. That's great insight. Liesl, so this one's for you. As the CEO of the Cannabis team, your team is working with leading companies all throughout the US and now globally. Is there a shift happening within these businesses in the hiring process when it comes to building diverse teams and even possibly bringing more women into leadership roles?
Absolutely. I think we work with a lot of the big MSOs across the country, and they've all, taken on new initiatives to have more diversity, especially at the executive level. And very often they come to us and say, we would prefer a woman in this position. So I really think that things are changing. I think a lot of companies are actively looking for a more diverse leadership team and, are doing the work to get it there. I think it's finding the right talent, and that's always, that's our issue, is making sure that we find the right talent to put into those positions. But I think it's really exciting that a lot of these companies are now working towards doing that, very proactively.
Well, and, you have a great team behind you as well. And many of them are women in these, more leadership positions, and we have to lead by example, all of us. So as long as we continue to do that, it'll also make an impact with other companies as well.
Yeah, Ellen is a good example of that. We've been working with Acreage for a long time, and we found her and placed her in her position, and she's just made us so proud. So yeah, she's a great example.
Right here on the panel. That's awesome. Keiko, so as a woman who has been in cannabis for many years now, you have seen the ups and downs of the industry. You've also been to many events where they have women in cannabis panels. And for the past few years, we have heard and been a part of many panels together. But as you know, we can't just talk about the challenges and what companies need to do. We need to change the narrative for women in cannabis. How can businesses start leading by example today?
Well, it was where there were 30% of the C-level positions were women, but now they're saying it's now in 29 or 28%. I last read this week, and that's very disappointing. And I think what we need to do is we need to be able to empower women, understand that they have a place at the table, that their knowledge, their background in this sector of cannabis is needed. The bottom line is that cannabis is a medicine that's helping so many people. And the empathy that women have to offer in expanding is very acute and very needed. And that's why we really need to be able to open it up for more women, higher levels of positions in cannabis. They have the heart, they have the drive, and they have the authenticity to really be a part of it.
Well said. Well said. Your internet is a little bit slow, but it's coming through. We are hearing you, but it's just a little delayed. So,
do it in mind.
Yes, we got the message for sure. So Ellen, for years in cannabis, many cannabis business marketing strategies were honestly geared towards the male demographic. Maybe within Acreage or as a whole, do you believe there is a shift happening with businesses when it comes to their marketing?
Well, I think it's not so much that there's a shift that comes with the marketing, it's that the paradigm of the market is changing. And we don't have necessarily the best research just yet on consumption. I hope that better information is forthcoming as we partner with industry leaders in research. But I think it comes with the diagnostic of what is driving the growth of the market and how new entrants are coming into the market and other forms that are attractive for new entrants. And then what is the demographic and socioeconomic, psychographic, dominance of those groups, and allocating and developing your marketing strategy accordingly. You can't be all things to all people. Branding is extremely important. If your branding is perfectly positioned for a specific group that is emerging, great. So it's not a one-size-fits-all marketing solution either. It has to track with your own business objectives, your business strategy, and then looking at the demography of the market and aligning your strategy to what you see happening. So the marketing plan should follow that. Now, we all want to see growth in the market, new users coming in, especially as adult use expands. And I think there's a lot we can do collectively as an industry to help drive that. But I don't think one company is going to be out there bringing all the new users to the market for everyone. And the more I think the industry works together to promote cannabis, the more we can drive consumption and market penetration. So, hopefully companies align their own strategy to their brands, their business, direction, and what they're trying to accomplish, depending on what part of the market they're playing in, retail versus cultivation. I mean, there's so many different, aspects to what companies are doing today. So hopefully we'll continue to see growth from all groups and align our strategies and tactics accordingly.
Well, that brings some great insight. And, it even goes into the fact of being in those multiple states as well. There are, even within that whole play, there's going to be diverse marketing structures and strategies because you have a whole different audience and demographics in every city you're going to or state. And we also have limitations in how we can go to market based on media. What is allowed, what media will work with us. We all know media that works to a degree and you run risk in certain areas. And that's why I think in many cases, a very localized, market-specific, being part of the community is extremely important, no matter how you're playing in this space, because I think you can do so much more to develop loyalty if you approach it that way, as opposed to big overarching strategies that may not work state to state. But I think the companies that win in this space, and that's why Acreage is so focused this way about building our quality, building our brands, building innovation that we can then extend across all the markets in which we operate and just flex to make them as relevant, as important in each space as possible. Now, Amber, so, you spoke about the impact that with Supernova as a whole and how it's, how it's been able to really help you and many others in this space. What ways have you you're now working with Maker House, you have Maker House, and it's working with a variety of different brands. Having that kind of collective of different brands, are you seeing that they're more women-led, or are you picking more women-led, or what do you see from the landscape as California? Are there more women-led brands coming to market, and is Maker House a part of that and leading them?
Yeah, I think there are, now that the California market seems to be, I guess, kind of finding its lane a bit, there are people that are really kind of honing in on niche type markets. So it's really interesting to see the businesses and the brands that are coming out of that. And I do see a lot of women-led companies and women-led brands come into market, and it's interesting with Maker House, we obviously work a lot to manage our own supply chain. So there's a number of different companies and partners that I'm always working with. And, Maker House, we really work to create an inclusive supply chain so that we're being very intentional with who we're working with and how we're spending our dollars and who our supply chain partners are. And, me being, I'm a queer Black woman, and it's not always the easiest finding people that are aligned with my same values. So it's not the easiest building an inclusive supply chain of folks that share the vision and really the values and folks that we want to uplift and work with. So yeah, that's definitely one of the challenges that we deal with, not just here. We want to work outside of California, expand the brands outside of California as well. So really, like I said, being intentional is the way, and usually ends up with the best products and with the best kind of representation of our.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that, Liesl. Or sorry, Amber. Liesl, you're next on my mind. So Liesl's question, we spoke about a shift happening, but what hurdles have women faced when it comes to hiring? I have another question to that, but we'll start with there.
I don't think there were a ton of hurdles. I think, in a lot of cases, the cannabis industry is just, there's so many opportunities to enter this industry. And it's all about positioning yourself for whatever opportunity you put yourself forward, and really making sure that you do your homework and really, have an attitude of, willing to put your hat on for any task that's required in a company. I think this industry in particular, hires mostly for culture fit and people that have a real can-do attitude. And I think that's super important to get across in applying for any job in the industry.
Keiko. So again, as an advocate, someone who has been part of various boards and a business owner in cannabis, you've been able to hear from all different perspectives. You've been able to learn about different businesses and see the good and the bad within the industry. What are 4 key takeaways you would like to share with a newcomer in the industry?
I think with a newcomer who'd like to be part of this industry, I'd say connect with the community as well. See what's out there that resonates with you. You just don't want any position. You want to make sure what position you get is the one you're going to truly be happy in. Because if you enjoy what you're doing for work, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's exactly how I feel. I'm helping patients. I mean, it's a dream come true. And I have a dispensary where I can go snorkeling with the sea turtles. So it's great that I've found a place where I'm helping people. And that's one of my main goals. And I think for other people who want to work in a dispensary and be a knowledgeable bud tender, there's a big calling for that, because we do need people who are going to want to understand the science of it and being able to help people. I've had a dispensary, I've had a cultivation, as well as a delivery service, a farm. My son now has 12 dispensaries in Oklahoma. And the thing is that we found something that makes us fulfilled. And no matter if you're a man or a woman, there's enough space here for you to be a part of the cannabis industry. And so many wonderful people in the industry too. I would say one thing I encourage people to do is learn how to network and learn with a lot of joy and passion, because there's great people out there who will only help pave your way to success and comfort in being.
Thank you for that. I did see a comment. We are seeing if we can do closed captions at this time. If we can't, it is something that we will look into. Thank you for those that have asked about that. And then 2, if you do have any questions for our panelists, please feel free to hit that Q&A button, and we'll be opening it up shortly for you all to ask this amazing panel questions yourselves. Now, I want to go actually back to Amber really quick. We've talked a lot about challenges and, maybe just women-owned brands as a whole. But what are some achievements you would say, or just things that you feel have been so pivotal in your growth as a business professional being in the cannabis industry?
what are some of my
Like
wins?
achievements, yeah, your wins, or what would you say, like as a business professional, what have you learned that you probably wouldn't have learned anywhere else that you think is valuable by being in this space?
Absolutely. What's funny is, so I went to school for physics, so I very much got a science mind and a science background. And I never, ever imagined that I would be so civic and so much into politics, the whole political and obviously activism that comes along with it, advocacy, was very new to me and something that I started because obviously we had to create space for ourselves in order to be able to make a living and live in somewhat peace, right? I mean, it's still obviously hectic for all of us as business owners in cannabis, but you know what I mean, like being able to operate above ground. And so being civically engaged. And that has also been a really interesting kind of thing. Supernova worked to create the first social equity program in the country here in Oakland. And in that fight and in that advocacy, it was all women at the forefront. It's always been women really pushing the boundaries of all these things, making this significant change happen. So, we look at the social equity movement, it was women. We can even look back to the Prop 215 days, and we had Brownie Mary at the forefront there. So women have always really been pushing change forward and making significant things happen for the greater good of our community. And so, I've learned a lot from my women colleagues, of course, the men too, but really the advocacy. I learned a lot from Debbie Goldsberry. She was my mentor when I first entered cannabis, and I didn't really realize how engaged and how much advocacy I'd have to do, how much talking I'd have to do to legislators, how much I'd have to talk to council members and city staff. And it's been very, very like a totally different life than what I expected. And I love it. I embrace it. I've learned so much and grown so much as a person because of it. But I've really been empowered through this entire process of my career and just learning so much from my peers and really just expanding what I just had no idea that I was going to get into this. And it's been a great journey. It's been an awesome journey. It's been awesome to be along and see people like my panelists here, especially Kiko and Delia, and all of the things that they've been doing. It's been a great ride. So yeah, thank you all for what you do as well.
Well, we have two more questions for Liesl, or one more question for Ellen and Liesl, and then I'm going to do a couple questions for each of you to answer and start pulling up some of the conversation as well that we're seeing in the audience. So Liesl, I want to, with your specifically, women, and we've talked about this before on a previous panel, women tend to not ask for raises or promotions. Some may say that is why there's a wage gap between men and women. What tips would you give to women in the audience who are looking to apply for a managerial position and want to come prepared when it comes to negotiating their contract?
First of all, I think really determine where you see yourself in 2 to 5 years from now. Very often we get lured by sort of the next position, but we really don't have a strategic plan of where we want to be, for the next 2 to 5 years. And make sure that the positions you apply for are in line with where you're seeing yourself, right? So I think that's step one, because it's easy to get distracted by something shiny or a new job, in a different area, but it's not quite aligned with where you see yourself in the future. And then do your research. Make sure you look at other positions at a similar level. Make sure you have all the data ready. When you do go into that job interview, like you can compare with other positions at other companies, similar size, et cetera. And in promoting yourself, I would always make a list of your previous achievements. What did you add? What did you bring to the bottom line? Really get the data together of what you contributed to that company, both from a culture perspective or real time. So you have things that you can say, this is where I added value. So you can really position yourself well that way. The other thing I would also do is ask, right? What else, what other benefits are there in the company? So I think very often, especially with cannabis companies, there's stock options available or other benefits to really assess what the comp is for this position, big picture as well. And then the growth opportunities, what are the opportunities for advancement and growth within a particular position? Those are all things that you keep in mind in positioning yourself, for a position as well. But I think a lot for women, it's our inner work that we have to do before we, go into the workplace or in any other environment, is really do the inner work first. How do you value yourself? Because if you don't value yourself enough and feel like you're worth, a certain salary or a certain position, it energetically radiates, right? And so we have to be very conscious of how we do our inner work first before we approach any position. And that's just life too. I think we tend to separate, I think we all are starting to become aware of the law of attraction and, how we create our own reality. And, we tend to sort of compartmentalize our life a lot and saying, well, this is work and that doesn't apply to my work environment, or this is, something else and that doesn't apply to that aspect of my life. So, I know this sounds very esoteric, but I truly believe that what you expect, you're going to get. So prepare yourself as well as possible and do the validation work that you're worth what you're after. And then I think the rest will easily come, with that. But definitely be prepared. I think that's always a very great strategy.
Yes, so true. Very true. Thank you for sharing that. Ellen, when looking at the cannabis industry as a whole, in reality, everyone is still kind of a startup. Anybody, even big companies, can close tomorrow. Whether it is a large MSO or the latest business that launched last week, what are 3 best tips for the business owners and operators in this room?
Well, I think I alluded to before. I think the most important thing is to have the best people. And you have to have a culture where, and whether it's women or minorities or anyone who has been, anyone involved in the social equity track in cannabis, which is so critical, you have to start with the best people and really do the right team building, because every industry is competitive. This is a new industry for the most part. I agree with you. We want to attract great people. You don't attract great people when you don't have an organization, and small or large, that encourages contribution and encourages creativity and a way for people to really work together well, as opposed to you have to guard against, especially sometimes in entrepreneurial environments, is that the founder and everything goes in one direction. And I have found the greatest results is I try to get people who are much smarter than I am, and who can really help us grow and build in new and exciting ways and in new and exciting dimensions. So I think that's part 1. Part 2 is that you do have to have good process. And especially in an industry like ours, where there is so much in compliance, so much in seed to sale tracking, you have to have that discipline where you have to balance that great entrepreneurial spirit and love of the industry with great common business sense, and have the right processes that people can work with and understand and not get stressed in their jobs because they can manage, the expectations. And then you need to look at all the things that every other company looks at. Your quality management, your supply chain efficiency, most of all, your customer experience. And whether it's because you cultivate and package a product or you operate a retail dispensary, we have to, bring love. We have to make people want to, choose our products, choose our stores and dispensaries, choose our pharmacists that they want to confide in, because that's what really, again, builds loyalty for the long term. And be really smart about it, and be smart about finances and not get carried away, but be very disciplined, and make sure that you're investing in the areas that are really going to drive value for your organization. And, in the year or so that I've been with Acreage, I think that's really one of the strengths is being able to identify that great intersection of consumer need, how you deliver it, how you do it better than anybody else, how you have great people to drive it, and then how you deliver results that make your company sustainable. And those are our business practices, not just for our industry, but for almost anyone. But I think they're ever more important in one like cannabis, that our industry just has some very unique challenges. And I think if you do that, you're going to be very successful.
I want to add to that, Ellen, I think that's so well said. And, again, you're such a great example of all that. But, this industry, I think want people that, like I said before, the entrepreneurial spirit can wear multiple hats, can shift on a dime, because, someone from a corporate background that had all the infrastructure in place may not transition very well into the cannabis industry, right? Because in the cannabis industry, you don't have a marketing department, you don't have a full HR department, you don't have the things that you have in a corporation that a lot of companies, people would expect, coming into an executive role. Even if it's $1 billion cannabis company, it's still, run as a startup. And everybody has to wear multiple hats. So in positioning yourself for a position in the cannabis industry, you've got to be able to illustrate that you can roll with the punches and that you can shift on a dime, and that you can do your own admin, and a lot of the things that in big corporations you can delegate. So I think that's a very, very important aspect to be able to fit into this industry and be successful, and keep that in mind when you interview as well.
That's very true. Very true. We have a crazy schedule here at any cannabis business. It's very well, I did want to, there's not a question in the audience, but I wanted to bring, and actually there are a couple questions, but there's a specific comment I wanted to ask you all about this. So a lady named Angela stated, I am the most senior member of my team, yet I've been ignored in meetings and emails from clients and prospects that are males. They prefer to speak to my male colleagues, even though they are less qualified. Just overall, do any of you have advice for that, or maybe ways and tips that she can overcome that kind of approach and experience? Whoever wants to go first.
It should not be an issue. I mean, I'm close to 70, so I know that feeling. But you know what? I think that with that age comes knowledge, wisdom, and also you have the skill to develop yourself to be a desirable asset and have people listen to you. I'm also seeing a lot of comments that women aren't being invited to meetings that their male counterparts. I think for myself, where I tried to position myself is, I felt like I have the skills, I have what they need for that creative part of that. I mean, like I said, do something that makes you happy. And sometimes those meetings that those guys go to aren't all that good anyway. We as women are now developing great events that women are creating. So it is inclusive for everyone to be included, and age be a part of that. I mean, I look at people who are much more senior than I am as being an inspiration. They're still here. They have a lot to teach me. And I think that's because in my heart, I'm an advocate. I mean, I'm on the board of a lot of nonprofits. I want to see them succeed, and they're a part of this community. And I don't want to see that somebody's going to hold it against me because I'm an old girl.
I agree. The only thing I would honestly add to that, and having been, public company C-suite for a lot of my career, sometimes there's a balance, and there's, relatively equal numbers of men and women at the table, depending on where you're working and with whom. But I think there is a natural tendency for people to talk and hang with those that they're comfortable with. If there's a group of women, you might gravitate to talking to the women. So to me, being in a business meeting, everyone is still human, and you talk to where your comfort level is. And so, I remember early in my career, I used to watch sports so I could come in and talk about sports with everyone. So I think some of it is not being waited to be invited in, but if there's a group, go join it. everyone's equal. Everyone should be able to talk. Just because they're guys, you don't have to wait for them to invite you in. You can be like, hey, what are we talking about? Where's everybody going after the meeting? You can, without being obnoxious, of course, because sometimes people just are friends. But in situations, if you're feeling left out, you learn how to, without being obnoxious, to push in and to remind people that, hey, I'm interested in the same things that you are. Think about how you make friends. That's how it works, right? So I found the most effective thing is not just getting the seat at the table and waiting for everybody to treat you the same, but to let everyone know that you are the same and that you're prepared, offer your help. Share camaraderie about what their problems are, the same way you would do with any group. And it was very rare that I did that I ever found a door closed. It was almost like, oh, yeah, we want your opinion. So I don't always perceive it as a negative. I think people just sometimes go where they're comfortable, and you knock on the door and you get let in. Now, if you're in a situation where it really is, whether it's a guys club, and I've seen women have women's clubs, then you have to break down those doors, or you have to find methods to try to, get people to think and operate a little bit differently and lead by example. So I look at it as an opportunity. I never want to feel left out. I think there are appropriate ways to insert yourself. You also have to understand that not everything is about you, and it may not be that it's a guy discussion. It may be a functional discussion, and you need to make sure you interpret it correctly. So, and it's very rare that I have found myself in a situation feeling like maybe it's a little bit of a guys club, that I haven't opened the door, that I wasn't let in, provided that I was appropriate and not acting like, why aren't I part of this? That's not good either. So it's all about professionalism, and it's all about being a good partner to the other people at the table and trying to get those doors to open, even if everyone's comfort level isn't to include you first. And I have seen improvements in this over the years. I really have.
That's really well said, Ellen.
So there's a couple more questions that we have time for. There is one that's more of a business question. It's from, and I apologize if I'm saying your name getting correctly, Jamela. So she is hosting, she found her niche in the industry. She's hosting her first networking event highlighting sheroes in the cannabis industry. Does anyone just have any best tips on how she can reach out to potential sponsors as a whole?
Yes, go to women brands.
They're probably more accessible. Anyone else?
And they're be more willing to listen to why she wants the support of a brand for her event.
Yeah, no, very true. Amber, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, there are a few women groups on Facebook, women cannabis groups, women empowerment groups that are cannabis focused. I would suggest posting in there, and really, like we've been talking about, is joining a community of like-minded women to really grow your business. That's going to be the easiest, kind of lowest barrier of entry, and most likely get you the best.
And also, if she was to volunteer for some of these other groups and nonprofits when they need help, she can make some connections that would be more willing to support her in her efforts.
Great. Joan in the audience also said, have a good defined sponsorship package that demonstrates benefits as well, too. I'll volunteer. Obviously my name is Adelia. I work for a company called Event High, and we work with cannabis event organizers. So, if you feel comfortable, I work one-on-one with event organizers to review their deck. I keep it very private. I just give advice on what I've seen or just some tips. So also helpful to put myself out there if you want to connect. We're going to have one more question, I would say, and then we'll do a final call to action for each of you. But this question is for each of you. It's, today we have gone from talking points on advice to challenges to specific takeaways. What is one reminder you have for those looking to get into the cannabis industry? Just maybe something a little different than we've already touched in on.
Sure. It's not easy in this industry, as we've been discussing and mentioning, lots of changes, and set outside of cannabis may translate well into cannabis. There's a different mindset in that this is an industry that is primarily made up of small, very unstable and businesses that are very new and all startups. So you've got to have a lot of grit. You also have to be very agile, and definitely find your tribe and look for your community and lean on them.
Liesl, you want to go next?
We're actually just about to launch our 2023 cannabis industry salary guide next week. And it was really excited to work on preparing for that because, in all the new states that are going legal or just have gone legal in the last few months, there's going to be about 120,000 new jobs being created just for those states that have gone legal. So there's so much opportunity to get into this industry. And if you think about just from seed to sale, from the minute the seed goes into the soil to when it hits a retail shelf, there are so many opportunities along the way to add value and to do something different. And so there's just an immense amount of opportunity. So if you're interested in working in the cannabis industry, figure out what you're passionate about, what part of it. And there's always a way to get in. And there's so many new jobs being created. This is such a fantastic industry right now. Unlike so many other industries that are, laying a ton of people off, this industry is still creating a ton of new jobs, not just here in the US, but starting to do that globally as well. So, get your mind right because the opportunities are there.
Thank you. Ellen, do you want to go next?
No, I think, getting a new position, especially when you want to craft a new industry, sometimes you have to start at the beginning. And despite where you may have been or what your position was, sometimes when you have to learn something new, you go and you take a step back. And there are a lot of positions in cannabis. I mean, one of the most valued positions we have at Acreage are our bud tenders. They are our, connection to our consumers. We want them to be knowledgeable. It's a great way to learn product and learn the industry and to build people skills. And, we look at our bud tender team as people who can be rising stars and maybe have other places to go and, move more into store management or elsewhere. So don't be afraid to come in a different place and base it on your goal and where you want to be, based not necessarily on where your experience is, and be open, to new ideas and learn as much about the industry as you possibly can, and don't say no.
And I guess it's my turn.
Yes.
I would say that I'm a bit of an anomaly now. First time I ever did business in cannabis was in 1970. And I didn't know I was doing business in cannabis. So I've definitely seen the growth, the ups, the downs. And with each day is one more person who is getting well. And that to me is my main goal. So knowing that there's amazing cultivation and growing great product, and knowing that there's wonderful labs as well as packagers and bud tenders, all of those are great positions. I know that you will find the one that resonates with you to be part of this community.
Thank you, Keiko. And now just the final ask is, how can people connect with you? And we'll start from the top. So Ellen, Liesl, Amber, and then Keiko. Where can people connect with you and how can they learn more?
The easiest way with me is LinkedIn. I mean, I can't say that I always respond as rapidly, and sometimes it's just a lot of cold stuff. But if you start out saying you heard this panel and you're interested in chatting, that, when there's commonality, it's easier to respond. And also, I would recommend, check my LinkedIn profile among yours, because if you have mutual friends that can help recommend you, that's a great strategy always. But rather than trying to find emails, and we're all bombarded, I have more email than I can possibly answer in a month, much less a day. That's always a way, but keep it relevant and try to lead with something that I'm going to have a reason to respond, because there's just too much cold irrelevant stuff, and keep it relevant, because you don't want to waste people's time, and so you can tell when it's just something cold in there, going to 40 different people at once. It's not intriguing, but someone who maybe heard this panel, heard something I said that resonated with them. We all are mentors. We should all always want to be mentors. So that would be the easiest way for me.
Great. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well, Liesl Bernard on LinkedIn. And our company page is Cannabis Team. Also our website, if you're interested in job opportunities in the industry, again, we place talent on a temporary and a direct hire basis, and we have a job board that's updated on a daily basis. So feel free to check that out. And you can also be connected with a recruiter that can assist you in preparing your resume or look for opportunities for you in the industry as well. So feel free to check out our website if you're interested in in a career in cannabis at cannabisteam.com.
So you can find me on LinkedIn. You can also follow Supernova on Instagram. It's Supernova Women. You can find at least Maker House's brands on Instagram as well. Landrace Origins, it's our cannabis and coffee brand. And Disco J's, it's our pre-roll line. And also our website, supernovawomen.com.
And you can also find me on LinkedIn, Keiko Beatty, as well as you can, if you want to email me, Keiko, Keiko at Coral Cove. And if you want to come to a retreat at Coral Cove, I tell you, were we going to go ahead and give away? Okay, we're going to give.
Yeah.
So
that's one thing we don't want to forget. So I think the best way would be is everyone that participated in this room, Keiko, will get their information and then you can select one. So if you just want to share what they are going to win and that they'll be emailed once we select that winner, that'd probably be the best.
Yeah. And then let's see, the ending of February is the Cannabis Travel Association's World Fair. And I'll be speaking there and have video at Coral Cove, as well as it was just Chinese New Year, and I'm part of the Asian Cannabis Roundtable as well, and OC Normal, and it's just real honor to be here with these amazing ladies who are bringing it. And for Amber, I'm part of the tribe. My husband was, well, he still is gay. Anyway, he's a great husband. We're just divorced. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, so just to let you all know, you all are being entered into a raffle from Coral Cove Wellness. You're going to be getting to enjoy a stay there. What was it? What was the stay?
It's for 3 nights for 2 people. We can't have you go by yourself. And that includes breakfast as well as the wellness amenities, yoga, meditation, kayaking, snorkeling, surfing. We have our own licensed dispensary and a lot of sunshine, lots of warm Caribbean blue waters.
Yes. So again, for those that tuned in for this webinar, your name will be entered and we'll be sending out an email with that following after within the next day or so. So we'll work with Keiko on that. And just to end again with all that, thank you all again for joining us for this month's Thought Leadership Series, Women in Cannabis Edition. A huge thank you to today's panelists for giving us their time and insight the past hour. Thank you, Liesl, Amber, Keiko, and Ellen. It's greatly appreciated. And don't forget to save the date for the next Thought Leadership Series, which is Mergers and Acquisitions, Selling a Cannabis Business, which is going to be on Thursday, February 13th. You can learn more at thecannabischamber.com/events. So thank you all again for tuning in and have a great day.